continues between Dalton's mayor and the village's board of trustees after multiple members did not attend tonight's month.
The drama surrounding Tiffany Henyard has taken a drastic turn, transforming what was once a murky controversy into a full-fledged scandal. Shady deals, dark secrets, and unforeseen betrayals are now surfacing from all directions. Despite mounting evidence and a growing wave of allegations, the public is left perplexed by one glaring question. Why has she not been arrested yet? Henyard's name has been splashed across headlines, and whispers of under-the-table dealings have intensified. The tension surrounding her case continues to escalate, and many are left wondering how she has managed to avoid the consequences of her actions for so long. For months, the public has grappled with the baffling reality that, despite the overwhelming evidence against her, Henyard seems to remain untouchable. However, the situation has taken a dramatic turn in a stunning revelation during a high-stakes legal meeting. Henyard's own lawyer turned against her, exposing shocking new details that left everyone in the room reeling. This was no ordinary legal maneuver. It was a seismic shift that threatened to tear apart Henyard's carefully constructed public persona. She was now exposed as someone entangled in corruption, deceit, and perhaps something even darker. For both her followers and critics, the discovery that her own lawyer might be betraying her added yet another layer of complexity to an already intricate case. Speculation about hidden alliances, secret confessions, and underhanded deals has only intensified. It's becoming increasingly clear that Henyard's continued freedom might not simply be the result of a well-crafted legal defense, but rather due to some unseen, possibly corrupt forces working behind the scenes to shield her. This has raised uncomfortable questions about the extent of the power and influence at play in her case. Could the web of deceit surrounding her be even more widespread than originally thought? The public, now more restless than ever, is demanding answers, and the legal system can no longer afford to ignore the mounting pressure for accountability. What started as a murky controversy has evolved into a dramatic showdown between Henyard and the truth. With each new revelation, the sense of a looming reckoning intensifies. The walls are closing in on her, and the once untouchable figure of Henyard, who seemed to glide above the consequences of her actions, is now facing a potentially catastrophic unraveling. Yet, even as the net tightens around her, many still cannot shake the feeling that Henyard's world may not be so easily torn down. The forces protecting her, whether the result of powerful connections, shady deals, or other shadowy influences, seem deeply entrenched. They give her an unsettling amount of leverage, despite the mounting evidence against her. This has left both her supporters and detractors struggling to understand how someone so deeply embroiled in scandal can continue to remain untouchable. The betrayal of her lawyer has opened a window into the possibility that the forces surrounding Henyard's case may be even more corrupt and widespread than previously thought. The more the details unfold, the more it seems that Henyard's story is a tangled web of deceit. This leaves everyone wondering just how far the corruption reaches and how much influence is being exerted behind the scenes as Henyard's carefully cultivated public image crumbles under the weight of these revelations. Her continued freedom has sparked even more fervent calls for justice. It's becoming increasingly clear that the pressure is mounting, and the public's thirst for answers is growing harder to ignore. The question now looms large. Will Henyard be able to maintain her grip on freedom for much longer, or will the tide finally turn against her with the truth continuing to surface in shocking waves? The stakes have never been higher. It seems that Henyard's fall from grace is inevitable, but the real question is whether the forces that have kept her from facing the consequences of her actions will continue to protect her, or if, at long last, the relentless pursuit of truth will bring her to account. The saga of Tiffany Henyard, once seemingly invincible, is on the verge of a dramatic and irrevocable collapse. Her story may serve as a cautionary tale for all those who believe they can manipulate the system without facing the repercussions of their actions. In the end, no matter how powerful or influential an individual may be, the truth has a way of breaking through even the most carefully constructed facades.
I never was on the ship, the jumper ship. Almost.
Dramatic meeting in Dalton leads to even more controversy, this time over a new hire.
Not only did Mayor Tiffany Henyard make the hire without consent from the board, we're learning
Hiring a strong defense team is generally a smart move when facing serious allegations, but the recent revelations about Tiffany Henyard's legal strategy have raised questions. Indisputable proof has now emerged that Henyard has enlisted two high-profile criminal defense lawyers known for handling some of the nation's most infamous court battles. The caliber of attorney she has chosen has drawn heavy criticism, especially since she has consistently insisted on her innocence. Many are left to wonder why Henyard would feel the need for such an aggressive legal team if she truly has nothing to hide. One of these attorneys, Brindley, was able to secure a significant fee for his client, but his defense strategies have come under fire for being extremely unethical. Over the years, numerous allegations have surfaced accusing Brindley of using illegal tactics, including coaching witnesses to lie, tampering with evidence, and engaging in other morally dubious practices. While these tactics did, at times, prove successful in certain cases, they raised serious ethical concerns and left a lasting negative mark on Brindley's career. The controversy surrounding Brindley began in September 2015, when he was charged with 21 federal crimes, including conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors accused him of unethical behavior in 6 separate cases, where he represented the defense, alleging he improperly instructed witnesses and manipulated evidence. Although Brindley was ultimately acquitted of the charges, the legal battle that ensued severely damaged his reputation and caused many to question his integrity. Despite the controversy, his career continued. Albeit with a heavily tarnished reputation, Brindley's actions outside of court have also raised concerns. Several former clients have accused him of fraud, claiming he mishandled their cases or abandoned them, failing to perform proper assessments or fulfill his promises. As the number of complaints grew, Brindley's reputation took a significant hit, and scrutiny over his conduct intensified. Still, Henyard chose to trust him with her defense. The growing list of disgruntled clients who accused him of defrauding them and leaving them feeling duped only added fuel to the fire. Henyard's decision to invite Brindley, along with another attorney, Ed McDavid, to a public event in Dalton further fueled the controversy surrounding her case. What was initially expected to be a serious discussion about her legal issues quickly devolved into an ardent defense of Henyard, with the attorneys shifting blame for the unrest on others. The event became an odd and combative spectacle, with Brindley making several audacious remarks that shocked the audience. Many of his claims were soon proven to be false or misleading, casting further doubt on his credibility. Henyard's defense was built on portraying herself as the sole victim in the entire situation. One of Brindley's most well-known and scrutinized tactics was to accuse various officials and trustees of orchestrating a coordinated smear campaign against Henyard. This defense was widely perceived as deeply flawed and, in many cases, completely untrue. Brindley's accusation that the trustees were responsible for the public unrest was overshadowed by mounting evidence that the claims were baseless. To many observers, it seemed that Brindley was attempting to manipulate the narrative and deflect attention from Henyard's own role in the scandal. Despite Brindley's claims, many felt his arguments lacked substance. His attempt to shift blame to others appeared more like a diversionary tactic rather than a legitimate defense strategy. McDavid, while supporting Brindley's viewpoint, made little effort to clarify the real concerns or offer meaningful insights. His comments mostly served to belittle those expressing legitimate concerns. It became evident that, despite their high levels of expertise, Henyard's legal team was willing to go to extreme lengths to defend her, even if it meant bending the rules of ethical conduct. As the accusations against Henyard continued to mount, the effectiveness of her defense strategy remained uncertain. Although Brindley had been successful in previous high-profile cases, his controversial past clouded his current efforts to defend Henyard. The more he and McDavid tried to deflect criticism, the more their credibility was called into question. The public began to wonder if their aggressive tactics were just a desperate attempt to divert attention from the harsh accusations against Henyard. The meeting in Dalton left many in the crowd questioning the defense team's motives and wondering if they were genuinely focused on presenting a solid case or simply trying to manipulate the narrative. As the pressure on Henyard mounts, the question remains whether her defense team's aggressive measures will be enough to shield her from the consequences of her actions. Will their legal maneuvers ultimately spare Henyard from justice, or will the mounting evidence and public outrage lead to her facing the full repercussions of her alleged crimes? Only time will tell whether Brindley's controversial defense tactics will prove successful or whether the weight of the evidence will ultimately catch up with Henyard. For now, her case continues to draw attention, with the public eagerly awaiting the next chapter in this unfolding drama.
Board of Trustees meeting was canceled because there weren't enough trustees present. But Mayor Tiffany Henyard still showed up and appointed a new village administrator.
Despite the tireless efforts of Tiffany Henyard's criminal defense team to shield her from mounting legal troubles, her situation continues to deteriorate. One of the most glaring issues emerged when Brindley, one of Henyard's attorneys, made a public claim that the board lacked the authority to call meetings and misrepresented the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Brindley argued that a 10-day notice was required to cancel a meeting. This assertion, however, was misleading and inaccurate, as the Act only mandates such notice when a public body changes the schedule of its regular meetings, not when canceling a single session. The confusion surrounding this claim only deepened the skepticism surrounding Henyard's defense, casting doubt on whether her legal team was genuinely focused on resolving the core legal issues or simply trying to shift the blame. This legal confusion was further compounded by Henyard's controversial appointment of Keith Freeman as village administrator. Although a motion was made to approve Freeman's appointment, video evidence clearly showed that the motion was not seconded, rendering it a failed proposal. Despite the evident disapproval from the board, Henyard proceeded with Freeman's appointment, raising serious concerns about her disregard for proper procedure and board authority. Her defiance in the face of clear board disapproval only amplified perceptions of her leadership missteps. The situation became even more tangled when Brindley falsely claimed that Jason House, a trustee, lacked the ability to sign checks, despite the village and county regulations clearly stating that House did indeed possess this authority. These misstatements, along with other apparent inaccuracies in Henyard's defense, left many questioning whether her legal team was focused on the core issues at hand or merely attempting to deflect attention away from the mounting accusations against her. Brindley's attempt to argue that Henyard's personal attorney could override certain board decisions was also questionable, as he incorrectly suggested that the court, not the attorneys, had the authority to make those determinations. This misunderstanding only deepened doubts about his grasp of the legal landscape and the defense's overall strategy. These errors and misrepresentations sparked a wave of skepticism regarding Henyard's defense strategy, with many questioning whether her legal team was more focused on managing public relations rather than mounting a coherent and factual defense. As these legal missteps continued to surface, it became increasingly clear that Henyard's defense team was not effectively addressing the substance of the charges against her, compounding the turmoil. A key meeting where Brindley and Ed McDavid presented these claims did not include Henyard herself. The village board, undeterred by her absence, proceeded with its business. This meeting, which addressed Dalton's budget, was marked by complex dynamics, including the public appearance of Stanley Brown, a board member and Henyard ally, who found himself caught in a delicate balancing act. Some residents encouraged Brown to attend the meeting, while others urged him to stay away, fearing that his presence might escalate tensions further. The meeting came just a week after Henyard attempted to call an unofficial gathering without a quorum, where she named a new village attorney and administrator. These actions were swiftly rejected as unauthorized by trustee Jason House. House's rejection of Henyard's actions further exposed the deepening chaos and lack of coordination within the village's leadership. His assertion that the meeting was unofficial and ineffective highlighted not only the confusion surrounding Henyard's authority, but also underscored the growing fractures within the local government. The village board's continued operation without Henyard's involvement reinforced the perception that her influence was slipping and her capacity to lead was rapidly being undermined by the ongoing legal and procedural missteps. As Henyard's leadership came increasingly under scrutiny, her credibility and authority were further eroded, leaving many to wonder if she could regain control or if her tenure as village leader was swiftly nearing its end. This series of missteps, combined with the public spectacle of Henyard's legal defense and the internal chaos within the village's operations, has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and distrust. The failure of Henyard's defense team to present a coherent strategy has only intensified the perception that they are more concerned with managing public relations than securing a legal victory. The legitimacy of Henyard's actions and her authority as village leader are now hanging by a thread, with residents and political observers questioning whether she can continue in office. The growing disarray within the village, compounded by Henyard's apparent disregard for established procedures, has led to a sense that the situation is spiraling out of control. The absence of clear resolution, combined with the mounting legal challenges and internal strife, has left Dalton's future uncertain. As legal challenges continue to mount and the internal strife deepens, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather the storm. The collective weight of her legal troubles, coupled with the unraveling of her authority, may ultimately force her to step down. Her public image and career are in tatters, and many are beginning to question whether she is truly in control of the town's governance amid the escalating scandal. The village trustees have been left to address the financial crisis allegedly exacerbated by Henyard's administration. At a recent trustee meeting, several urgent topics were discussed, including the worsening financial situation and potential layoffs. Dalton's financial struggles have become a focal point of the crisis. With Henyard at the center of multiple scandals in recent years, a major issue raised during the meeting was a disagreement with the village's bank, which had issued a 60-day notice due to signature discrepancies. This action followed allegations that Henyard had refused to sign numerous checks totaling millions of dollars, raising suspicions of misuse of village funds. The community's concerns about Henyard's handling of village finances were further compounded by growing allegations of financial mismanagement and personal misconduct. These controversies have drawn the attention of political observers and the people of Dalton, many of whom now question Henyard's confidence and suitability to continue leading the town. In response to mounting financial concerns and a perceived lack of accountability, the village trustees have taken several measures to address the fallout from Henyard's administration. They voted to stop covering the meals and travel costs for elected officials and staff while away, signaling an effort to curb some of the financial mismanagement that had occurred under Henyard's leadership. Additionally, the trustees suspended 18 company licenses approved under Henyard's administration and issued a temporary ban on travel and food reimbursements. They also revised the requirements for check signatures, placing more controls on financial decisions to mitigate further mismanagement. These actions were seen as a direct response to Henyard's failures in managing the village's finances, including issues surrounding the new firefighter contract through 2027, which was blamed on her administration's poor planning during the meeting. Several residents voiced their dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership, calling for her immediate dismissal and expressing frustration at her continued presence in office despite the mounting legal and financial scandals. The legal problems surrounding Henyard's administration have continued to escalate, with further revelations of financial mismanagement and misconduct casting a dark shadow over her leadership. One of the most significant allegations against Henyard was the misuse of public funds, which has resulted in a large budget deficit much greater than initially stated. This deficit, which violates state transparency laws, has led to growing distrust among Dalton's residents, many of whom feel that Henyard has failed to uphold her duty as mayor and contributed to the town's financial woes. These issues have only been further complicated by the growing number of allegations surrounding Henyard's leadership, including the controversial appointment of Keith Freeman as village administrator, despite objections from the board. This appointment highlighted the lack of coordination and communication within the town's leadership and underscored the deepening fracture within Dalton's political structure. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the question of Henyard's leadership remains central. Can she continue to hold office, or will the mounting pressure from legal, financial, and political forces force her to step down? Dalton's political destiny now hangs in the balance as residents and officials struggle to navigate the fallout from Henyard's increasingly controversial leadership. Dalton's financial future is now at stake, and with it comes a growing sense of disillusionment among residents. As the pressure mounts, it is becoming increasingly clear that Tiffany Henyard's time in office may be rapidly coming to a close. The combination of legal challenges, financial mismanagement, and an apparent lack of oversight has left many wondering whether her ability to lead the town has been irreparably damaged. While the village trustees are working to address the financial crisis and restore stability to Dalton, Henyard's absence and lack of leadership have become more glaring, further highlighting the fractured state of the town's government. Henyard's administration has significantly eroded public trust by withholding crucial spending data, despite repeated demands from residents and trustees for transparency. Although Henyard herself acknowledged a $2 million budget deficit, her administration has refused to take responsibility for the village's financial mismanagement. This has led many trustees to believe that the actual deficit is far larger than officially reported. Allegations of overspending have only exacerbated the financial concerns within the village. Henyard has been accused of squandering tens of thousands of dollars on extravagant expenditures between July and November 2023, including first-class flights, upscale lunches, and personal shopping sprees. One of the most egregious instances of this lavish spending was a 5-day trip to Austin, Texas, where Henyard and her top assistant reportedly spent more than $220,000 in public funds. The funds were used for luxury purchases like sports riding apparel, dining at high-end restaurants, and staying in opulent hotels. These revelations have sparked outrage among local residents, who are already grappling with the village's ongoing financial crisis, and have cast serious doubt on Henyard's ability to manage public funds responsibly. Critics point to the extravagant spending patterns, budget imbalances, and Henyard's disregard for local business licensing issues as further evidence of her inability to properly oversee the village's finances. One such issue involved Lawrence Gardner's trucking business, which was accused of selling alcohol without proper authorization. However, Gardner refuted these allegations and successfully defended his case, leading some to believe that Henyard's administration may have targeted him for reasons beyond the legal matter itself. This further fuels suspicions that the administration has been using its power to settle personal scores at a recent village board meeting. Henyard remained defiant in the face of mounting criticism, accusing her detractors of politically motivated attacks and dismissing the allegations as part of a smear campaign. Despite the mounting evidence of financial mismanagement and an apparent failure to address Dalton's financial woes, Henyard downplayed the seriousness of the budget deficit, refusing to acknowledge the scale of the crisis facing the village. She even defended her decision to host an $85,000 party for the Taste of Thorn and Township event, which came amid significant budget cuts that had left residents questioning her priorities. The event, which featured performances by R&B singer Keisha Cole and rapper Jade, only added fuel to the fire. Many locals accuse Henyard of using public funds to bolster her personal reputation rather than addressing the village's pressing financial issues. Critics, including former Dalton trustee Valerie Stubbs, have been outspoken in their condemnation of the event, calling it a failure and pointing out that only about 70 people attended, far fewer than expected given the extravagant spending involved. In addition to these questionable expenditures, it was revealed that between January 2023 and the present, Henyard and her team had charged more than $667,000 to township credit cards for out-of-town travel, including trips to New York, Atlanta, and Portland. These revelations have raised even more alarms, as the administration is now under investigation for allegedly misusing public funds for private benefits. The mounting financial scandals, including the lavish spending on personal travel and high-profile events, have left many questioning Henyard's ability to lead and whether she has been using her position for personal gain. As the scrutiny intensifies, public calls for accountability have grown louder, with residents and local officials growing frustrated by Henyard's apparent disregard for the financial health of Dalton and her refusal to address the growing concerns surrounding her administration. The increasing legal and financial controversies have only intensified public disapproval of Henyard's leadership, with many citizens and political analysts now calling for her resignation. The Dalton episode is quickly becoming a cautionary tale about the dangers of public officials being allowed to avoid accountability for their actions. The situation has become even more complicated with the civil case filed in April 2024, alleging that a former assistant was sexually assaulted during a work trip to Las Vegas. The plaintiff claims she was drugged and beaten following a dinner with a village trustee, and both Henyard and the trustee are listed as defendants in the case. In addition to this disturbing claim, Henyard's administration is facing accusations of financial misconduct. Federal prosecutors have accused Keith Freeman, a close associate of Henyard, of bankruptcy fraud, further complicating the already dire situation surrounding the mayor. The scandal has extended to Henyard's inner circle, with Brian Miles, a member of Henyard's $1 million security team, filing a new complaint that only adds to the complexity of the ongoing case. Despite repeated claims of innocence from Henyard's senior aide, the mounting legal challenges are increasingly difficult to ignore. Henyard has repeatedly asserted that she is a victim of a political attack, claiming that a village trustee boasted about the alleged assault during a FaceTime conversation. The involvement of infamous attorney Bo Grinley, who is known for representing clients with controversial pasts, including R. Kelly's former manager, has further fueled the fire surrounding Henyard's defense. Many residents and political analysts are growing increasingly skeptical of Henyard's legal strategies and her ability to handle the mounting public disapproval. As the number of court cases and legal disputes continues to rise, questions about witness deception have begun to surface, raising concerns about the credibility of the defense Henyard is preparing to offer. The growing controversies surrounding Henyard have cast a dark shadow over her tenure as mayor of Dalton. The misuse of public funds and allegations of fraudulent activity threaten to unravel her administration. The situation has become so dire that the village trustees have already taken steps to limit Henyard's authority, a clear sign that the town's leaders are losing confidence in her ability to govern effectively. The ongoing legal disputes and increasing pressure on Henyard to be held accountable for the alleged misappropriation of public funds have only amplified calls for her resignation. It remains unclear whether Henyard will be able to weather the storm or if she will be forced to step down as mayor. As the investigation into her administration's actions continues, the future of Henyard's leadership in Dalton is in serious doubt. The legal battles, financial mismanagement, and widespread public discontent suggest that Henyard's time in office may be rapidly drawing to a close. Many are left wondering whether she will resign voluntarily or be forced out in the face of overwhelming pressure as the situation continues to unfold. The residents of Dalton and political observers alike are watching closely, eager for answers about what the future holds for Henyard's embattled administration. The outcome of the ongoing investigation and the mounting legal challenges will ultimately determine whether Henyard can retain her position or whether she will be held accountable for the serious allegations against her. The story is far from over, and the outcome remains uncertain. But it is clear that the issues surrounding Henyard's leadership have reached a critical juncture, and the stakes are higher than ever.